Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I got a video for you, and it's going to be talking about how to train efficiently in fighting games to put you on the best path for success possible. Now, I see a lot of questions, and I honestly get asked quite a bit, what's the best way that I can learn in order just to play games in ranked? And honestly, there's a lot of different methods that people have, but this video is just going to cover the way that I personally, as someone who plays a lot of different fighting games, have quickly gotten to the point where I can jump into online and just hang out in ranked and for the most part not have a whole lot of issues. Now, before we actually get into this video, if you like this style of content, if you like talking about fighting games, one, consider becoming a member of the Discord. That's a great way to come in contact with me. Ask me any questions that you want outside of the stream. You can also start posting memes because that's just apparently what we do for the most part. Also hang out with the other people from chat. On top of that, if you could also hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons. 89% of you guys are not actually subscribed to the channel. So please, please, please consider doing that. Anyways, let me not take up any more of your time. I hope you guys enjoy this discussion. Peace. Hey, you guys want to dunk on Reddit opinions? So, I guess we're not dunking on Reddit opinions. We're actually talking about something because I always check Reddit when I'm bored and I want to have things to talk about. Here is one of the things I wanted to talk about, like the best ways to train, because as someone who plays a lot of fighting games, like I play a ton of fighting games and I am bad at like 99% of them, right? And I want to stream all the time when I'm playing them, so I have to like learn different methods on getting like better at them very quickly. So that way you guys don't, like, one, you can watch me get fucked up. But two, it's not just a stream entirely of me just getting, like, absolutely bodied. Like, I try really, I try to learn different ways to get better faster. And one of the, like, main ways that I found personally that is a great way for doing that is, and this is going to be, like, really lame, alright? And, like, this is going to be, like, a big cop-out. Like, this is going to be such a cop-out method, but, like, there's really no trick to learning or training properly when you play fighting games, right? Well, there sort of is, but the best way to learn fighting games is just to play them. And I know, like, that's going to get, like, a lot of people, like, that's a stupid answer, but anytime that I've, like, I personally have ever struggled in learning fighting games in, like, the past, like, ever since I, like, started streaming, right? The easiest way that I've found, as far as, like, a method or, like, a practice that I'll do is, no matter what game it is, whether it was Mortal Kombat for my first time or Street Fighter or something like that, I literally just go in, I go into training mode, I pick up a character that I think looks cool, and then I just go play the game online. I might, like, I'll check their buttons and see what they do. I'll go through the move list. I'll go through, like, what their buttons look like. And I'll try to discover, like, okay, this button hits upwards a little bit, so this is probably, like, a really good anti-air. Or this button is really far-reaching, but it's slow, so it's probably just a better, like, thing to throw out in neutral when, like, the opponent's already at a pretty far distance, and it's not really likely that they're gonna whip punish me or something. Like, that's, like, kind of the mentality that I use when I go into a fighting game. And then what I'll do after that is when I actually go play the game online in a live setting, which hopefully I'm going to be able to show you guys, like, today a little bit, when I go play JoJo's, you start to realize, like, whether or not those, like, opinions that you had in training mode are actually true. Like, for instance, like, maybe a button that you had, you thought was, like, a really good anti-air, and it turns out it's actually horrible. I'll give you an example. So earlier, I was playing Third Strike, right? And I know Dudley from Street Fighter 4, and he's a character that came from Third Strike. So I usually just pick him because I have already kind of a common knowledge with him to begin with. So when I play Dudley, I know his heavy punch and his forward heavy punch are going to be really good poking tools because they stuff a lot of moves. They're kind of fast, specifically just heavy punch, and they have a lot of priority. Or at least in Street Fighter 4 they did. I'm not entirely sure about Third Strike. I know that his forward medium punch is going to be a really good poke, but it's probably not going to net me anything as far as a combo goes. It's just going to be really good to interrupt people or counter poke with. I know that forward medium kick is going to be a move that's going to move him forward that I can go into a target combo with. Like, those are things that I already know going into that. And one of the things that I knew was in Street Fighter 4, his crouching heavy kick, which is that move where he just goes to the ground and then, like, picks you up by your ankles and puts you into the juggle state. In Street Fighter 4, that was an anti-air. So, because I never really played a lot of Third Strike back in the 3S Online days, when I'm playing Dudley, I try to use Crouching Heavy Kick as an anti-air quite a bit. And what I found was it's actually a really bad anti-air in Third Strike. The hitbox for the move, it doesn't work the same way it does in Street Fighter 4, so people actually hit you out of it quite a bit. So I found that move isn't very good for anti-airing, and his other moves, like Crouching Heavy Punch or Standing Medium Kick, are actually way better for anti-airing if you're going to use a button. So those are just some things that I found out. So it's like really weird. That's probably one of the fastest ways I can say to like getting you to a point where you can actually just play the game is honestly just start playing. Once you start playing the game, you you start to remove that sort of like any of the mental blocks you had. I know like a lot of people that have anxiety about playing ranked or even unranked, right? They don't want to do online because they don't want to get beat. And they just want to do good. But the problem is, like, you can't do good if you don't know. Like, you got to play the game. And after a while, you're going to start realizing that, A, there's common characters that people like to play. And you're going to find out that there's things that you just get blown up at. You don't know what the answer is to. That is when I think training mode is actually important. The moment you actually start discovering the problems that you're having, training mode is wonderful for discovering the solutions. But, as I believe Sajam put it, training mode is not a way to discover like questions. It only is good for answering the question. That's it. I'm never going to be like, it doesn't matter how long I spend in training mode, I am never going to find out a way, like I'm never going to get to the point where I discover something about the matchup better than if I just play the matchup. It's so much better to just actually play the game. And I honestly think that is the best, like the most efficient way for just your average person playing fighting games to actually learn fighting games. Just go play them. That's it. That is the best way to train when you're playing fighting games. Literally. Just play the game. Like you don't even have to write down notes. Just take mental notes about what's beating you or what you're having trouble with. Then you go into training mode. Then you go practice that stuff. Then you go figure out like the solutions. Like I know a lot of people struggle with. I see those kinds of things all the time in like Reddit or subreddits about fighting games, and like the Facebook groups that I'm in that are mostly about fighting games back when I'd like actually regularly check Facebook. People struggled a lot with trying to learn like, or trying to find like the most efficient way to learn. And everyone's going to give you like, oh yeah, go into training mode, practice combos for like 30 minutes, do it on both sides of the screen, or practice Korean backdashing like a billion times before you even think about going into ranked. And I'm just like, no, you actually should just jump straight into the fire. And the problem is, one of the things you're going to have to really get over when you learn like that is you're going to have to just get over the fact that you're going to lose. Right? There's no getting around it. You're going to lose a bunch of games. And in fact, you actually shouldn't even you shouldn't go into it with the mentality that you're even going to go positive for that session. You should be expecting to lose. When I got Guilty Gear Strive, right, and I jumped online, I knew how to play Leo. Right? I've played Leo in Exard quite a bit. But I kind of figured that he wasn't going to be exactly like Exard from the stuff that I watched. So I went in there. I did the same thing. I hopped into training mode. I pressed some buttons with him, figured out like some of the utility, and then just started like doing stuff that I thought worked. I started discovering mid-match that like certain things were working really well. Like his run-through, people were just absolutely letting me get away with murder with that. And then I found out some other stuff like his like normal 236S isn't really safe on block. He struggles a lot as far as his front stance because there's not really a whole lot of good ways to get into back turn. So like when I was playing Strive for the first time, I was playing Leo, I found like a lot of his stuff that like I thought was gonna be really good. Like obviously run through was way better than what I thought it was until they start throwing you and then it kind of sucks. But I found out like he's not great in like his front turn stance at all. Like he's good because he has like all these like long reaching attacks with his like his 5S and his 5H, but they're super whiff punish. And like he can get really big damage, but his main goal really is to stay in back turn as long as he can. And like one of the ways that people are getting like avoiding, I use that word loosely because once you're kind of in that vortex, it's really hard to get out. One of the ways that people were like avoiding it was that they were jumping out a lot. So I went into training mode one day and just found like ways to make sure that like people stay grounded. But the point is like when you play the game and you start like discovering the things that like do work, the things that don't work, you learn a lot faster than if you were just to sit in a training mode for like 6 hours before you even touched online like everyone else tells you to do, and you practice your bread and butter combos like 30 billion times to the point where like your character can break a steel wall or some like weird crazy ancient training technique that you're not allowed to enter online with until you've mastered your character beforehand. No, like that's totally pointless, and it actually is just a waste of your time. Honestly, anytime someone asks me like what's the best and most efficient way to play, I just tell them to play the game. Like it's really that simple. I've used cons for 100+ hours, but only really went into training mode for like 2 to 3 tops. My point exactly. I bet you learn con a lot faster than most people too.